college head coaches leaving their jobs for coordinator jobs is not anything new. We've seen it happen before. I think the most recent example was Chip Kelly leaving the head coaching job at UCLA to go be the offensive coordinator at Ohio State. And I think it worked out. They won the national championship. But it's happened before that. It's happened where John Lewis left Kent State to go be the offensive coordinator at Colorado. Central Michigan head coach Dan Enos left his job to be the offensive coordinator at Arkansas. It's not anything really new, but it is somewhat new from a Power Five level to see Chip Kelly last year leave his Power Four job at UCLA, which is not some inconsequential job, which is not some D tier job by any stretch of the imagination, to go be the offensive coordinator at Ohio State. So I wonder if that was just the perfect storm, or is that the start of something that we'll see more of? Will we see more situations like that? Because Chip Kelly obviously had a really long and somewhat storied tradition and history with Ohio State head coach Ryan Day, where Ryan Day played quarterback at New Hampshire under Chip Kelly and needed an offensive coordinator. And Chip Kelly was in a situation, in a spot in his career, that he was done and over with all of the administrative, all of the things that aren't football related, all the things that aren't coaching offense. He was done with those things. He was bored by them, didn't want to do them any longer. And so he took a job where all he did was teach football, which, if that's what you're into, that's what you're into. But is that a spot where it's just the perfect storm, where you got the guy who has a history with the head coach, know each other intricately, can work together, and also happen to be in a spot where I need somebody that would fit the bill that you would fit, and I know that you're sick and tired of doing all of the things that aren't just teaching football? I don't know the answer to that question, but I do think that there are some opportunities, that there are some coaches who might be kind of in that same ballpark of, because I think part of what Chip Kelly was playing into was he going to be a slam dunk to uh, continue as the UCLA head coach? I don't know that the answer to that question is yes. I don't know, especially with what they did in year number one in the Big Ten with a first year head coach who got hired late in the process. All of those things playing against them. They didn't have necessarily the greatest first season in the Big Ten. So would Chip Kelly have fared any better? There's no way to know. But I don't think he felt like he had super great job security at UCLA. And I think there might be some coaches that fit that bill going into the 2025 season, where, and part of the issue is you're going to have to pony up enough money to make it not such a dramatic drop off, or not so, because part of the issue is you don't want to look like you're running away from something, right? Like, so for instance, there are high profile defensive coordinator jobs open. Could Dave Aranda at Baylor be somebody that says, you know what, I don't feel super secure in my job. Can I go be a multi-million dollar coordinator somewhere else? Probably. Could, and Sam Pittman at Arkansas, I think, is somewhat in that bill. Now, the issue with Sam Pittman at Arkansas is he makes a nice chunk of, he makes just over 5 million bucks a year. Somebody's not going to, you're not going to pay $5 million a year for an offensive coordinator, let alone $5 million a year for an offensive line coach. But I think there are a couple of coaches like that, like the Sam Pittmans, like the Dave Arandas, that might not feel super secure in what their future looks like at their current job. That you could go, you know, maybe going back down to being a coordinator or position coach isn't the worst thing in the world, because in college football, if you get fired for anything other than losing, there's almost always a path back. There's almost always a path to return to prominence, redemption arc, etc. Pretty much like Art Briles is one of the only few people that I can think of off the top of my head that got fired for something other than losing and didn't get the opportunity to really redeem themselves. It just outside of that, like for instance, like Rick Pitino is having a resurgence in college basketball right now. St. John's is in the top 25, and that's a dude who uh, was being blackmailed because he cheated on his wife on a table at an Italian restaurant. Then got their national championship revoked because he had prostitutes in the dorm rooms for their basketball teams. Like there's a lot going on there, and yet there he is at the forefront of the college basketball world. You know why? Because he got fired for things other than losing. And Dave Aranda and Sam Pittman are just kind of two guys off the top of my head that I think enter the 2025 season not necessarily on the firmest of grounds at their. Like, I don't think either one of them are super susceptible to if you start 0-3, you're going to get fired or anything like that. I just think if you have a 7-5, 6-6 season, does that start to ratchet up a lot? Yes. And if you're looking for the off ramp, there are options out there available. But if they were to get fired, the things that they would get fired for is losing, is not being as successful as a head coach as your university and your football program would like you to be. And this isn't necessarily like the NFL. The NFL gets a lot of retreads. There are a lot of guys who get a second opportunity to be a head coach in the NFL. And statistically, it shows that the second time around, NFL head coaches are better. Their winning percentages go up when they get a second go around. In college, a lot of times you get one go around at this. You get one crack at it. And if you choose the wrong job or you choose the wrong situation or it's the wrong time, maybe too early, things go poorly for you. And you don't necessarily always get that second opportunity. And so, if you leave your job rather than your job leave you, you really set up a lot better for that second opportunity. People are willing to look past a lot of things. Losing's not one of them. And so I just wonder if Chip Kelly last year, is that the start of a trend? Is that something that we will see more frequently where being a power four head coach doesn't necessarily guarantee that you're still above going out and being a coordinator again for a high dollar amount, or if it just was the perfect storm? I don't know that I have the answer to that question, but maybe you do. Hit me in the comments down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that topic. That'll do it for today's episode of the Daily Huddle. Appreciate you making us a part of your day, however it is, wherever it is you're doing so. If you're watching on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. Make sure you're getting all the great college football content we're pumping out. If you're listening on the podcast feed, drop a 5-star review. It goes a long way in helping out the channel. I'll see you tomorrow for another episode of the Daily Huddle.